So, Elle, you and I recently have come across this book that we've been
Hmm.
talking about quite a bit
Yeah.
because there is just so much in this book, and every chapter kind of has gems. And
Yeah.
we keep thinking, oh, this is such a great topic for our
Hmm.
podcast. So, full disclosure, we would love to have
Mm.
conversation over the next couple of episodes around topics that were highlighted in this book. So the book is
Yeah.
called Where the Light Gets In by Ben
Yeah.
Crow.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ben Crow, for writing this book. Um, Ben Crow is a mindset coach, amongst other things. He is a
Mm.
master in what he does, and he's a great storyteller.
Mm.
And so, highly recommend you go straight
Yeah.
to the source and for
Yes.
yourself read this
Yeah.
book. At the moment, it's in Australia, it's on the bestseller lists everywhere. It's in the
Mm.
airports. I've been traveling and it's at airports and it's at bookstores and
Yeah.
it's on Amazon and anywhere you buy your book, you'll probably be able to get. So, Where the Light Gets In
The little
by
subtitle says simple, playful, and profound perspective shifts to change your life.
very
I
powerful.
like those words. Simple,
Uh,
playful. Mm.
absolutely.
Mm.
So, so having said that, we're going to just pull some of the topics and then just share our own take on a few of these things and some of our own
Yeah.
stories and how that impacted us in our world
Sure.
and how really sort of chewing through this book and marinating it in it and
Yeah.
reflecting on it is really we're enjoying ourselves, aren't we?
We are, and I'm not even very far into the book, and I'm already underlining everything and having a conversation with you, Kath, about it. And we're like, oh my goodness, there is just so many, um, just great little thoughts that have, triggered my thinking and helped me to see something slightly differently. Yeah, I'm excited for today's conversation, Kath.
Yeah, yeah, no, me too. So, where are we starting today, Al? What we're gonna
So we were talking about goals. There's this great little subtitle in the first chapter, and it was goals versus expectations. Do you remember that
Yes.
part of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
book?
yeah. Yeah, so
Mm.
it was so interesting that he highlights the difference between a goal and an
Mm.
expectation. And
Mm.
in the coaching world, we talk a lot about goals, and
Yeah.
there's a lot written about the value of having goals. And I
Yeah.
love how he likens goals to dreams, desires,
Hopes. Yeah.
hopes. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So there's real big hopes that one has for life, and
Mm.
knowing them can be really helpful because they help to guide our
Yeah.
actions and our intentions and our motivations for things. So, Al, do you remember, just like off the top of your head, what was the big difference between a goal and an expectation
Well,
that stood
I
out for you?
loved it. I loved it because how many times have I had a goal in my life where I've gone, I'm going to achieve this, I'm going to set out and I'm going to do this, that, or the other. And yet there's this difference between a goal and an expectation. So a goal is an outcome, something that we want for ourselves. So you can think about, I don't know, off the top of my head. I don't know, something we talked about before, the 100 kilometer, right? The ultra
Yeah,
marathon. It's a goal in my life. The expectation is often what we do as humans is we have an expectation that we're going to achieve that goal. So if I set into that with an expectation, yes, I am going to nail that 100 kilometers in the time frame, et cetera, that creates pressure on me.
yeah,
They're separate things. So a goal is to achieve something, is to go after something. It's to hope, it's to dream, it's to plan for. But an expectation is only something that we can have if it's what we can control. It's what we can expect to happen. So just like, the sun comes up every day, right? I think he uses this in the book. The sun comes up every day, but we don't control that.
yeah,
There's a greater power. We can hope, we can sort of know based on the evidence that the sun's going to come up again tomorrow. That's what happens. But to expect it, I can't control it. I can't control what happens
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
sun. And so he sort of talks about the difference between goals and expectations. And, as a parent, what stands out for me is many times have I said, I expect you kids to pick up after yourself, to tidy your room today. I can hope that they do it. I can plan for and help them have that as their goal. But to expect it, I can't control. I can't control what happens.
Yeah. So what came to me as a my own sort of life experience between goals and expectations, are I've had in across the years goals to uh study in a certain direction or achieve a
Mm,
certain certification so that it sets me up for the thing I want to do, like where I want to
yeah,
focus my energy and the difference I want to make in the world. And we studied medicine, and it's that so the goal to get to the end of that. And then as well with our coaching, and training
yeah,
and the goal to get to the end of that. However, what this chapter helped me to see was that in the mix, I've like often or always really in my life set these expectations on myself to
mm,
always do well and to achieve well in an exam, as an example.
yeah,
But how much do I actually control the outcome of an exam? Like I can, yes, I can. So I love how he highlights that the
mm,
things I can control are my intention
yes,
towards where I focus my energy and I'm going to study, my efforts. So I can
yeah,
control how much effort I put in and how hard I work towards those
yeah,
goals. But I don't have any control on the outcome of the goal. I
no,
can also control my mindset, which I'm now
yeah,
realizing I didn't do a very good job of because I kind of um my mindset was on the expectation to pass and do what, not
mm,
only pass, but to do well. So I would put all this pressure on myself to achieve a certain
mm,
standard and get so stressed before the time because the story I was telling myself is if I don't achieve to this standard, then what are other people going to think of me? So then it's,
mm,
putting these expectations on what I believe others are going to think or how they're going
mm,
to see me if I don't pass,
mm.
and so that puts massive
Huge pressure.
pressure. And
Yeah,
especially those times when the assessment was not a written exam, but it was a conversation or a practical exam where you sort of perform on the spot. Those would
mm.
freak me out completely because I would get so attached to needing an outcome, and that's an expectation.
Expectation.
So when
Yeah,
I focused on that expectation, the pressure, the stress, the fear, and if I could just recognize that actually that's separate from the goal. The goal
yeah,
is to achieve the certification and get through. And if I can be present and just focus on doing my best and showing up and
yes,
the effort I put in and let go of it, and if whatever the outcome actually doesn't say anything specifically about me, like I used
mm,
to think that if I didn't achieve, people would think I'm dumb. I would think I'm
mm,
dumb.
hmm.
And that just caused so much pressure.
Pressure.
And so it was really interesting to kind of again untangle those two things and go, hang on a
Yeah,
minute, these are
yeah,
two different things here.
mm.
And he even mentions like goals are good things. We need
We
goals
do.
to progress through life and to
Yeah.
move in a direction towards something.
Gives us a bit
It
of motivation, something to focus
Yeah,
on. Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
know that it's part of the flourishing life, right, as
Mm.
something to sort of work towards. But if we
Yeah.
can work towards those things without the pressure of the expectation, then often,
Yeah.
often we end up doing so much better because we've got sort
Mm.
of the freedom just to relax and just to, as he says, have fun with it
Yeah.
and be creative and enjoy it.
And be in the moment, be in the
Yeah,
process. Because how often are we ahead of ourselves in the outcome, thinking about that, considering that, and yet we're not in the process of it. We're not paying attention to the ins and outs of the day. We get caught up in the distraction. We get caught up in the worry of what people will think. We'll get caught up in the worry of our own ability. But if we're there in the process, we've got much more chance anyway of achieving our goals.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So I really, really enjoyed that. And I also enjoyed how not only does he highlight the difference between goals and expectations, but he
Mm,
also highlights the fact that, as you were sharing before, it's the controllables versus the uncontrollables. What
yeah.
can we control versus what can't we control? And we spoken about this a lot before in
Mm,
our podcast, like
mm,
what can we control? And when we put our efforts towards things that we can control,
yeah.
it's like expansive and we, relax into those things and we often have better outcomes. If we're stressing about all the stuff we can't control, that just heaps stress and more stress, and it gets us
Yeah.
nowhere. And we end up being sort of riddled with fear, and it's not helpful for anybody. But what was
Mm,
interesting in this book, which kind of took it another layer for me, is when he was quite explicit about what we can control are our
mm,
intentions, our efforts, and
mm,
our mindset.
mm.
And in the past, whenever I've thought about, well, what are the things in my life that I can control? I've always gone straight to, I can control what I eat. I can control when I go to bed. I can control what clothes I put on. I can control,
How
those sort
you
of,
show up. Yeah.
yes, how I show
Yeah.
up, how
Yeah.
you respond to things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to uh, achieving our goals, recognizing what I can control and what I can't control has just been so helpful and kind
Yeah.
of life-giving. So thank you,
It
Ben
is.
Crow.
Yeah. Even with expectations, like, how often do we have expectations of the way people will respond to us? Or, in a friendship or a relationship, we behave in a certain way and we expect something to be responded to in a certain way. And how often do we find ourselves in disappointment, not only on the expectations we put on ourselves, but on the expectations we have on others and the way that they respond to us?
Oh gosh. And as you mentioned that, it's actually quite funny because we've been watching a series on, I think it's Netflix. Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's Netflix
Yeah.
called Shrinking. I don't know
Okay.
if you've seen it at all.
Nope, never heard of it. I don't even have Netflix at the moment. So,
Okay. Well, it's been a great been a great season, well,
okay.
episode to watch, one series. So I think we're on season three, and these there are three psychologists in a practice, but in the most recent episode we watched, Harrison Ford plays the role of this psychologist called Paul, and
Okay.
in his character he has Parkinson's and he's aging and he's retiring, and in his
Yeah.
retirement they're moving away. And the younger guy in the practice, his name is Jimmy. Uh, he's going through a whole lot of tragedy in his life, and he's
Okay.
really sort of quite down on himself and quite sort of depressed, his character. And Jimmy's dad is visiting, and it turns out that Jimmy shares stories his whole life that his dad,
Mm.
Jimmy's expectation on how a dad should be, his
Yeah,
dad
right.
didn't meet those expectations.
Right.
So just how his dad shows up and behaves is just not
Yeah.
what Jimmy was hoping for,
Yeah.
and the impact this has in his life. And so
Mm.
Paul, the elder psychologist, is trying to share with Jimmy, like, it doesn't help that you let your expectations of other people define who
Mm.
you are and eat you up, from the inside out. So on point here.
Mm.
But then when Paul is about to leave the practice, Jimmy again, same pattern, starts
Yeah.
expecting Paul to be a certain way and behave a certain way and say things. And it all comes down to the point that Jimmy has these deep-seated issues around, I suppose, being loved, really, and
Yeah,
self-esteem.
right.
So, and how often have I heard this played out in people's lives and clients and friends and
Mm.
family and even in my own world and in our own families, how we have these disappointments because other people haven't
Yeah.
shown up for us in the way we had hoped they would. And so
Yeah.
we've had this expectation of how others will be, and it so
Mm.
often just doesn't pan out that way. And so if we can let go of those expectations and look, definitely easier said than
I,
done for
I was going to
sure.
say, now, is this possible, Kathryn? Let's just
Well,
let go of the expectations. Like, so seriously, what and how can that look in an everyday? If I'm somebody who is reading everybody's response to me, so I'm
mm,
reading with a hope that they're going to respond. I'm expecting people to respond in a certain way, and that's not being met. So me as a teenager, I remember this distinct moment. I don't think I've shared this before, and I was in a school musical and I was performing and I think I had to sing and I'm practicing. It's at rehearsal and I just suddenly burst into tears mid rehearsal. And my teacher's like, "Oh my goodness, Alison, what's wrong?" And I said, "Oh, I just don't think I'm good enough. I can't do this." Da, da, da. But it was because nobody was telling me that I was doing an okay job. So my assumption, if no one's telling me, which is my expectation, I was hoping and expecting people to say, "Oh, Al, you're doing a great job." And then I would know I'm doing a great job. So then I could do it confidently. So if that's my character, that's my trait, how do I just switch that off?
great question. Well, I think it all starts, as does a whole lot of things that I've discovered start in
Okay.
the coaching space, and it all
Yeah.
starts with awareness.
Yeah.
So if we are aware that we are hanging our hopes on external expectations from others,
Mm,
that's a great starting point.
yeah.
To even just be aware, like, ah, because if
Mm,
I'm honest, I think I've lived so much of my life
mm,
expecting or wanting to live up to the expectation of others,
yeah.
and perhaps also expecting things of others, that
Mm,
I don't even notice that I'm doing this.
no.
I'm not even aware that that's how I'm being, and I'm not even aware that that's potentially the thing that's causing the knot in my stomach or the fear on the
Yeah.
inside of me.
Yeah.
So you can't have hopes of letting go of something that you're not aware that you're
Aware we
holding on
have.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it all starts
Mm,
with awareness.
yeah, of course.
And then once we're aware, it's just the understanding that we have choice. Like
Mm,
I've got a choice to choose to carry on living the way I've always lived in the fears, with
yeah.
the fears I've always had, and
Mm,
fearing any kind of assessment that comes my way.
yeah.
Or I've got a choice to figure out
Yeah.
what it can be like to have a
Yeah.
different perspective.
Mm,
And as he says, one of the controllables, thanks Ben Crow, is our mindset. And
yeah.
so I think it starts with awareness. And then
Mm,
this is why conversations and coaching conversations are so helpful, because they help
mm,
us to gain that awareness. And then they help us to kind of explore with no judgment, just in a curious way, like what is the mindset that I've got in this space with regards to
around it.
this certain thing?
Yeah.
What is the belief? Do I
Mm,
believe like I'm not enough, or I'm not loved enough, or.
mm,
And then
yeah.
what can I do in the moment
Mm,
with no pressure? But what is the hope for the outcome that I'd like that would look
yeah.
different? And then trying to
Yeah.
figure out what that looks
What
like, and
that
then
could
moving
be.
towards that. Yeah.
Yeah. And often it's also asking us ourselves that question, well, what else is true in that moment? You know,
Yeah.
if we're waiting for a response from somebody that we're not getting and we realize that that's what we're doing, okay, well, what else is true? What else do I need right now? Or what else is going on for me? What other meaning can I give this situation? Um, because there's lots of meanings to any scenario in life, and we can take the meaning that tears us down and gets helps us to feel even more disappointed and lost and stuck, or we can consider what else it actually means, what else is true in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're in it and you've for so many years, the direction of your
Has been the
thinking has
habit.
gone down a certain pathway and become a habit, it
Mm,
sometimes is hard to even consider that there are other options. And so, yeah, it you might be listening to this and think, gosh, that's so difficult to just let go of something. But our encouragement is to, just explore that even in that, like is letting go the outcome, or what's
mm,
the journey towards that, and what does that process
mm,
look like? And
mm,
I love the distinction as well between an outcome and the process towards the outcome. And if
Yeah.
we can focus moment by moment on the process and enjoy the life that happens on the
Yeah.
journey, because
Yeah.
that's, where we learn so much and we grow so much and kind of let go of the actual
Mm.
outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And I think
helps.
it does help. I think, especially depending on the type of outcome or goal, like if it's an exam or whatever, obviously there's a time and place to consider what
Yes.
it can look like. Um, but that's not where our main focus is not helpful for our focus to always remain in that place. It's much more helpful to be more present and focused on the controllables, the things that we can do here and
Yeah.
now.
Look, there's always
Mm.
context in the context of an exam or an assessment or most
Mm.
goals. There's what do they say about SMART goals? It's good that they are clear and there is a time frame and there is an end goal and so this is the thing. But I think it's just well, in the past, I've placed so much weightiness on
Wait.
the end
Mm-hmm.
line rather
Mm.
than the process of what it can give me to
Yeah.
be on the journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's about who we're becoming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's the becoming part.
And I suppose
Um,
it ties in with that whole conversation of how we define success as well. Because if success is
mm,
only defined by the end, like crossing the finish line of your
yeah.
100-kilometer
Yeah. For
marathon,
example. Yeah.
um, the chances, but the fact is that on the day, so much can happen that you
Mm,
might not cross that finish line. But
mm,
does that define the success or the lack of success, And
yeah.
so, what are all the other things along the way that also define success
Mm,
along the journey, and
yeah.
how just helping to recognize even where we are focusing all our attention. And
Yeah.
I think another great question, I don't know that it comes up in the book, but a great question that one could ask is the way I'm thinking causing more pressure,
Yeah.
or is the way I'm thinking giving me access to freedom?
Yeah.
Because he kind of, I love that languaging he uses, like, it's like the opposite of pressure is the freedom.
Mm,
And so if I'm wondering,
I wonder.
am I actually, especially when it's vague and am I living in expectation? It's like, well, is there pressure here?
Yeah. And we all know what that can feel like. It might feel slightly different to all of us, but when you say the word pressure, I can automatically feel like this weight and what it does to my gut and how it feels in my mind and the cloudiness and the uncertainty and all of those things. And yet freedom, it's a beautiful thing to experience. You can be in the same sort of even problem in life, but there can still be some freedom when we don't have the pressure of the outcome. Um,
Yeah,
well, I can't wait to keep reading this book and pulling out more and more nuggets and finding out what else. Because I mean, that's just one shift.
absolutely. That's just
That's
one
just
shift. And
one
if and
perspective.
also definitely recommend that you buy the book, read the book. It's on Audible as well if you're not a reader and you like listening to things. And he's got
Mm,
so many other stories. He does a lot of work with elite
sports
athletes and
people.
sports teams,
Mm,
and
yeah.
so his stories probably share a whole greater depth of the topic than what we're just sharing. But
Mm,
hopefully, there's some nugget in here that you can take away for your week. And
agreed.
if you do get the book and listen along
Yeah.
with us, we'd love to hear from you. What are
Let
your
us know.
standouts, and how's this helping you in your world and your day-to-day life?
Please do. Please email us, let us know. And yeah, let's see what other nuggets stand out so we can share them with everybody.
Great. See
All
you
right.
next time,
Bless
Al.
you. Catch ya.